I stumbled upon a story most strange, like nothing in my life, my street sense, my sly tongue, could have ever prepared me for. Hush now, and I'll tell it to you. Even before the dawn one Friday morning, I noticed a young man, handsome and strong, walking the alleys of our city, pulling behind him a cart filled with clothes both bright and new, and he was calling in a clear, tender voice.
Rags!
All the air was foul and the first light filthy to be crossed by such sweet music.
Rags! New rags for old. I'll take your tired rags. Rags!
Now this is a wonder, I thought to myself. The man stood 6 feet 4, and his arms were thick as tree limbs, and his eyes flashed intelligence. Could he find no better job than this, to be a ragman in the inner city? I followed him. My curiosity drove me, and I wasn't disappointed. Soon the ragman saw a woman sitting on her back porch. She was sobbing into a handkerchief, sighing and shedding 1,000 tears. Her knees and elbows made a sad X. Her shoulders shook. Her heart was breaking. The ragman stopped his cart. Quietly he walked to the woman, stepping round tin cans, dead toys, and Pampers.
Give me your rag, and I'll give you another.
He slipped the handkerchief from her eyes. She looked up, and he laid across her palm a linen cloth so clean and new that it shined. She blinked from the gift to the giver. Then, as he began to pull his cart again, the ragman did a strange thing. He put her stained handkerchief to his own face, and then he began to weep, to sob as grievously as she had done, his shoulders shaking, yet she was left without a tear. This is a wonder, I breathed to myself, and I followed the sobbing ragman like a child who cannot turn away from a mystery.
Rags! New rags for old!
In a little while, when the sky showed gray behind the rooftops, and I could see the shredded curtains hanging out black windows, the ragman came upon a girl whose head was wrapped in a bandage, whose eyes were empty. Blood soaked her bandage. A single line of blood ran down her cheek. Now the tall ragman looked upon this child with pity.
Give me your rag, and I'll give you one of my own.
The child could only gaze at him while he loosened the bandage, removed it, and tied it to his own head. And then he drew a lovely white ribbon from his cart and placed it upon her head. And I gasped at what I saw. For with the bandage went the wound. Against his brow it ran a darker, more substantial blood. His own.
Rags! Rags! I'll take your tired rags!
Cried the sobbing, bleeding, strong, intelligent ragman. The sun hurt both the sky now and my eyes. The ragman seemed more and more to hurry.
You! Do you have a job?
He asked a man who leaned against the telephone pole.
Are you going to work? Are you crazy?
Sneered the other. He pulled away from the pole, revealing the right sleeve of his jacket, flat, the cuff stuffed into the pocket. He had no arm.
Give me your coat, and I will give you mine.
Such quiet authority in his voice. The one-armed man took off his jacket. So did the ragman. And I trembled at what I saw. For the ragman's arm stayed in its sleeve, and when the other put it on, he had 2 good arms, thick as tree limbs, but the ragman had only 1.
Get to work.
After that, he found him drunk, lying unconscious beneath an army blanket. An old man, hunched, wizened and sick. He took that blanket and wrapped it round himself. But for the drunk, he left new clothes. And now I had to run to keep up with the ragman. Though he was weeping uncontrollably, and bleeding freely at the forehead, pulling his cart with one arm, stumbling from drunkenness, falling again and again, exhausted, old and sick, yet he went with terrible speed. On spider's legs, he skittered through the alleys of the city, this mile and the next, until he came to its limits, and then he rushed beyond. I wept to see the change in this man. I hurt to see his sorrow. And yet I needed to see where he was going in such haste, perhaps to know what drove him so. The little old ragman, he came to a landfill. He came to the garbage pits. And I wanted to help him in what he did, but I hung back, hiding. He climbed a hill. With tormented labor, he cleared a little space on that hill. Then he sighed. He lay down. He pillowed his head. He covered his bones with an army blanket. And he died. Oh, how I cried to witness that death. I slumped in a junk car and wailed and mourned as one that has no hope, because I had come to love the ragman. Every other face had faded in the wonder of this man, and I cherished him. But he died. I sobbed myself to sleep. I didn't know. How could I know? That I slept through Friday night and Saturday, and it's night too. But then, on Sunday, I was wakened by a violence. Light, pure, hard, demanding light, slammed against my sour face. And I blinked, and I looked, and I saw the last and first wonder of all. There was the ragman, holding the blanket most carefully, a scar on his forehead, but alive. And besides that, healthy. There was no sign of sorrow nor of age, and all the rags that he had gathered shined from cleanliness. My name is Saul. Will you take my rags? He dressed me. My Lord, he dressed me, and I'm a wonder besides him. The ragman, the Christ.